Hello and welcome to the Animation Communication Podcast, your source for discussion about animation, film, fandom, and more. So please join your host, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, or KP, and Lauren Kizich, the Abbey Roadie, for today's discussion. If you like what you hear, please remember to support by giving a like, a follow, as well as subscribing to the main I Love Kim Possible a Lot channel on YouTube. Spread the word and keep being a part of a great community. This episode contains heavy adult language and is not appropriate for young children. Can't.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Irregular Podcast where we upload things whenever there's things to talk about. I don't know. It's hard not having a co-host, but here I am still doing things. So I have Sketchy back today and we're going to talk about their Proud family, the new one and the old one. So Sketchy, tell the peeps what you do in case they forgot or haven't listened to the other episode.
What's up, y'all? I am Sketchy the Changeling. I talk about primarily My Little Pony on my channel, but I also talk about other cartoons and other pieces of media. For example, while the Proud Family Louder and Prouder was running, I was releasing a review every week.
Ow.
It's the first time in my entire channel's history where I was uploading weekly reviews the day the episodes came out. Like, I kept myself to a strict, 5-minute time limit to get all of my thoughts out. And, even then, I wouldn't say it was excruciating work, but I'm glad that I'm not doing it every week anymore.
Oh, I mean, I feel that. I was just going to say, I remember doing the episode reviews every week for My Little Pony, and it was a lot, and I couldn't maintain that for 4 or 5 years or however long I did it. So near the end, I kind of gave up.
Yeah, when I did the show, when I first came onto the scene, it was between seasons 4 and 5, and I did weekly reviews for season 5. After that, I was like, yeah, that ain't gonna work. So I started doing monthly roundups where at the end of every month, I just review all the episodes that came out in that month, and it was a lot better for my mental health.
Oh yeah, it's great analytically because people who watch the episode just know when they come out, but and our videos or the KP videos have always kind of been not crapping on your videos or anything, but they're a lot more complicated editing wise just than the general standard video. So yeah, I had a lot of free time college first time, so I'm in college second time now because I'm getting another, well, I don't know, I'm trying to get a job anyway.
Yeah. So, I feel that because I was just starting college when I was getting into YouTube, and then around 2017 when I was finishing college, I was having a lot less time to do stuff, and that's when I wasn't posting as much. When I first started, I was putting out 2 videos a week. I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard because you try just to put them out just because you want to. Part of me is just we'll do best analytically these days, and I don't know. I know the movie came out, the My Little Pony movie came out a little while ago, but right now there's nothing really to talk about except I think those shorts that are coming out.
Yeah, and it took me 6 months to get my review for that out, and it's crazy just because I had it recorded in November. I just did not want to edit it.
Oh yeah, I feel. But yeah, the movie was good. So we're not gonna, like I said, we're not gonna do news things. We're just gonna get into it. So I assume Sketchy watched watched Proud Family more diligent than I did. I watched as far as this reboot, I watched the episodes when they came out, and then I forgot about them. So, but yeah, I finished this season, and it was, well, I guess do you want to ask me the questions, or you want to talk about your thoughts first, or how do you want to script our dialogue?
I mean, I guess I could start about my history with the show.
Yeah,
I grew up. My older cousin watched it a lot more than I did. She was a couple years older than me, and I would just watch it with her. And I remember watching the movie when it premiered as well. I kind of grew an appreciation of the show more in the years after it ended rather than while it was airing. Because, I was only 4 years old when the show came out. It came out in 2001. I was 4 years old at the time. So a lot of the jokes and the stuff was just things I didn't get at that age. So once I was preteen, teenager, that's how I was oh, now I really get why this show is as good as it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But of course, now that the generation that grew up on this show, we're all entering adulthood or have been in adulthood for a while, we've been getting a lot more critical of the show. And, you know, it's a good show, but there are a lot of issues that were a problem with it. And some of them are products of the time. Others are just stuff that, like, you know, we never really questioned growing up. Like, you know, Penny has a terrible friend group, for example. That's like the biggest criticism that most people have of the show, whether they're a fan or not. So when this reboot was announced, I've seen like a mix of like excitement, but also like trepidation, because, like, you know, you want a new Proud Family to like not have those same problems, you know? And I guess that kind of transitions into the first episode, because it kind of like reintroduces us to everybody. And I remember when I reviewed it, I said that the vibe that I got from the first 2 episodes is that this show is just like the original, for better and for worse.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of the problems the original had are still here.
Yeah, I mean, as far as my experience with the Proud Family post the revival, like, I talked about it on the the old Kimpossible Day episode that we did. I think either last or the last couple episodes back, in case people want to go back and stuff. But you know, I thought it was okay. I wasn't really into it, obviously, as much as Kimpossible, but you know, I thought the animation was kind of cheap looking sometimes. They seem to recycle a lot of animation on the Proud Family. Less of a problem now, obviously, because it looks like they're doing it in Toon Boom now, and they have the puppets, and, you know, it's more streamlined and stuff like that. But something that I noticed, I rewatched the whole Proud Family just to see how it was and how I thought of it now, and it doesn't really seem that deep. Like, as far as, like, there are the really good episodes where they comment about, like, you know, the Muslim episode was really good, and the Kwanzaa episode is really good. Those are, like, when it's the best, when it has kind of a meaning to exist. But sometimes, you know, there are episodes where it was very basic storyline, like, things, like, I think the Romeo and Juliet storyline where Penny likes, it was a good twist to do the whole arranged to be marriage kind of thing, but beyond that, the general Romeo and Juliet subtext of high school kids or middle school kids do Romeo and Juliet, and Romeo, the girl of the group, likes the Romeo, and they're gonna kiss, and there's some kind of reaction to that, is very tropey. And the other thing too that I'll throw in is sometimes, like, the world setup doesn't really make sense. Like, I commented on a future video about this in general, and I get Oscar's supposed to be funny, but A, he's an asshole a lot of the time, and B, like, sometimes I feel like they put the jokes before the actual understanding of the setup. Like, the example that I keep on using is in the Romeo and Juliet episode, where I think Oscar comes in and he storms, and he's like, "You can't be doing this with my daughter," and they have, like, for some reason, all of the bodyguards, or anytime they need muscle, they use the same Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonator for everything, which is weird. I don't know. I just noticed that I
feel like it's kind of like a running gag kind of thing, because it's like, it's Proud Family is very, like, classic cartoon type beat, like, on, like, it's like Looney Tunes, where, like, you know, the world doesn't necessarily make sense, but I would argue it doesn't really have to, because, like, you know, it's taking you back to those classic cartoon days where, like, we didn't really have, like, oh, this is an established world and these are the rules of this world. It just kind of has fun with whatever it wants to do. It's like, okay, whatever we want to do, we're gonna do it again, for better and for worse. So, like, you'll have like very down to earth episodes like the Altos, but you'll also have very like out of this world episodes like Easy Jackster and Penny Potter, and I do kind of like that. I do like that I can have, like, a different flavor depending on what episode I watch. I think my priority personally is, like, are the episodes being done, like, well? Are the jokes hitting? And if there is, like, an overall theme to it, is it actually, like, doing the theme justice. For example, one of the more disliked episodes, for good reason, is Twins to Tweens, where a big criticism again of the Proud Family is that Penny is kind of like treated like dog shit for like.
Okay,
for,
a question?
Oh, my bad.
Since we're talking about that one, is there a reason why Al Roker is like a genie? Like, is there like an inside joke or something, or it just I'm like, oh, okay.
I think it's just a funny thing that they decided to do, and just kept doing it because like Al Roker, as far as I know, is just a weatherman.
That's what they want you to think.
Cause like Al Roker is like a little bit before my time, because like that's the thing. Because I was so young,
he still does things. He still does, like, for those who don't know what we're talking about I mean, it's in the reboot anyway, so if you watch the reboot, you probably know what we're talking about. But they assigned the ABC weatherman, Al Roker, who's like this nerdy black guy with glasses, as like a trickster genie kind of character in the Proud Family. And I was like, how did that work? You know, I get it's kind of funny, but it's just like also a little bit random. Like, you know, maybe if it was like a character, you know, I hate to use Discord, but maybe if it was a character like Discord where like the actor had a history of playing like trickster characters and people are like, oh yeah, it's because he's doing the thing or whatever. And I'm just like, but Al Roker, I don't get it. So.
I guess it's kind of a why not kind of thing. It's kind of similar to how like Fairly Odd Parents had Norm Macdonald play a genie named Norm, and he was pretty much just being himself, just a trickster genie, and he was kind of a recurring villain on the show for a couple of years. So that's the thing. Like Proud Family, a lot of it's running gags. You don't really need to put a lot of like thought into them, and I think that's kind of not refreshing, but like relaxing, to where it's like I can just relax and watch an episode of the Proud Family. I don't have to think about like overarching plot lines or anything like that. It's a nice little family sitcom, because like that's pretty much what it is. Just a animated black sitcom, you know, similar to how like Family Matters sometimes does like wacky stuff sometimes, especially in the later seasons. And I think that's kind of why people love the Proud Family, is because you don't really get a lot of that, especially in the animated sector. So people were looking forward to seeing how they would, you know, bring things back. So when we get to the first episode, we see how things are updated. Michael's been upgraded to a main cast member. Sticky moves away, unfortunately, but we're introduced to Maya and KG, and who I think Maya kind of started off on like a rough foot, but she I did warm up to her overall, because she warmed up to Penny, and that was something that they kind of build upon. And the first episode really is just a like, okay, let's just bring you guys back up to speed. It was a recap episode without being a recap episode, if that makes any sense. But and like I mean that in the nicest way possible.
Yeah, that was a thing that also confused me, because I did watch the movie, and the movie's like a trip. Like, I feel like, you know, someone on drugs wrote that movie with the Peanut clone. It's a weird movie. Anyway, like, I would never expect Proud Family to kind of go that, like, since we're talking about kind of just grounded family things, like, I would never expect Proud Family to go on, like, magic scientists and stuff. So,
I mean, the second episode has Penny going into the Matrix, so
yeah, you know,
of the original series. I should
yeah,
that's
fair. But, that's fair. Yeah, so it can get. I mean, I think that the rap or the dance battle was just like, okay, that's a lot. But as far as what I was saying earlier, like, I think it's just more of my taste than anything. But like when you ground your media in something, and you have kind of like not like reoccurring jokes per se, but the characters kind of make references at the very least to things that have happened in past episodes, and you know, there's some sensical things like my setup for the joke that, or the thing that I was talking about earlier, is there were security guards in like a high school for the joke of kicking Oscar out of the thing, because everyone is just like, fuck Oscar, which is fine. He's kind of he kind of oversteps his boundaries a lot of the time, which is the fun part. But yeah, it's kind of distracting to me. And then, like, speaking of the first episode, they're still in middle school, but then the movie is Penny's 16th birthday. So I'm not sure. Is this before the movie or?
I'm guessing like it is very confusing. I'm not sure why that's a decision they wanted to make, but I'm especially because like they're now like growing and their bodies are developing and stuff like that. So like it kind of creates an inconsistency with the movie. But honestly, like I'm not too bothered about it. It's kind of like I guess it's like a SpongeBob situation where apparently the first SpongeBob movie canonically is like it takes place after everything else that comes after it. So it's the canonical end of SpongeBob, and everything that comes out after it takes place before the first SpongeBob movie somehow.
Yeah, which is fine. I guess I'm just like I wish they had not acknowledged that in some regard, where, you know, if it was before that, like, you know, like when Penny says, oh, she's 14 or something like that, and then, you know, like, oh yeah, I had this weird dream about talking peanuts or something like that. Glad that never happened. So at least there's kind of the acknowledgement of, you know, the movie being, but then, you know, then it's a whole other issue of like, why do they have cell phones now, and technology's up to date.
I think it's kind of similar to how, like, you know, it's kind of continuing as though it never got canceled, because, like, you know, you have shows like The Simpsons and Family Guy where, you know, the kids are kids, they're the same age for like 20 plus years, and, you know,
yeah,
you start
fair.
out with like the Griffins suddenly have like a HD TV now and have smartphones and everything, even though, like, you know, and they even like mentioned that, you know, Stewie has had multiple first Christmases. You know what I mean? So, you know, it's just kind of a thing where when a show goes on for long enough and the characters stay the same age, you kind of have to, unless it's a period piece where it's supposed to take place in a certain era, you kind of have to adapt to the technology. So it's not like it's something that we haven't seen before.
Yeah. I guess like those kind of, because we're living in an age like, you know, where serialization is king and, you know, that kind of thing. So going back to something that's simplistic and as far as it's like world building structure, like Proud Family, it's just like, you know, for me it takes some getting used to, like, and trying not to take it seriously. But then you also have like established things where the Snackland like backdrop thing, and that's a recurring thing for multiple episodes. So
right.
You know, I'm like, pick a lane, guys. But anyway, besides, like, I am glad that, and they recast Michael too, right? They didn't have.
Yeah, like Phil Lamar doesn't voice him anymore. He's voiced by E.J. Johnson, who is the son of Magic Johnson.
Oh, nice. Enough. Yeah,
I did not know that.
I think that's a really nice touch. I'm really glad they're overall covering, you know, the LGBT stuff. Sorry, there's always like something I miss as far as the syllables, but yeah, and I think, you know, that's
not to be confused with LPDZ, the band.
Oh God, how fucking stupid. You know, like that's another thing that bothered me, is just like their singing voices are, I think, A, all the same, and B, don't sound anything like their speaking voices, and I'm just like, God damn it, guys, please care. I mean, it bothers me.
I mean, I guess it's kind of like classic Disney, because like I remember like old Disney movies, none of the characters like had the same like singing voice.
Yeah, I feel you. I guess these are just things that, like, because, you know, for people who care on the internet, I would like to make my own cartoon one day, and I just feel, I have made my own cartoons, but like in a general, like, bigger sense than just putting them on YouTube, and these things are just like, you have the power to you know, but, you know, it is a different artistic decision and all that stuff, but, you know, I'm glad that Michael is being included in the friend group, and people just kind of, so far they haven't directly addressed if he's gay or not, but they just kind of accept him as is, and no one really questions it. I think Oscar makes a crack about it, like the first episode, like, oh, go dance with Michael kind of thing, but that's really it, which is, it's nice that it's just not that big of a deal.
Well, I think, I do think, they don't like say that Michael is gay, but they do make it clear that he likes guys, because like he dances with a guy at the end of the first episode, and like when they were talking about KG after meeting him for the first time, I think someone says, oh, what if he's not even into girls? And then Michael just says, that's what's up. So like Michael definitely shows interest in other boys. So
Okay.
At the very least, he's bi, if not gay.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be a twist? Like, I just downloaded this meme where people make fun of Senior, Junior for Kim Possible for being gay, and I'm just like, guys, he didn't have to be, like, at least he's either straight or bi, you know, he ends up with a girl at the end of the show, so I'm just like, whoops.
Plus, didn't he call Kim Possible his soulmate at one point?
Yeah, that was in the first season. You know, they have an episode where they do that, but then Kim's like, "Oh, no, thank you," and then it eventually ends that subplot. But yeah, they did try to do that one time, I guess, for funsies.
You did mention modern technology earlier.
Yeah.
But speaking of modern technology, the second episode, Bad Influencer, I had mixed feelings about it. My overall consensus on it was that it wasn't good. It was well intentioned, but it definitely came off as though it was being written by someone that didn't really have like a grasp on the whole cancel culture debate and didn't understand the nuances. Like, they just know the term and they know they have a general understanding, but they just kind of took that basic understanding and tried to make a lesson out of it, and because of that they miss a lot of the nuances and whatnot. Because, like, you know, number one, if you're that rich, you can't be canceled. Like, Makeup Boy is obviously an ex-spy of James Charles, and James Charles is too rich to be canceled. He has too many business deals and too many things going on financially in order to be canceled.
Unless he turns out to be like a child predator or something like that.
Yeah, like
that will cancel anyone.
Yeah. Outside of going to jail, like, you can't get canceled. You'll get roasted on social media, and a lot of people will not want to, like, associate with you, but that's just general consequences of not being a good person. And but they kind of make it so, like, oh, Penny's the one in the wrong, even though what she did to Makeup Boy was out of retaliation because he publicly ridiculed her.
Right. I mean, I agree with your overall sentiment. It kind of hurt. Like, I think the biggest thing that, like, frustrated me about the whole thing is that Makeup Boy, like, found, like, an alternative for being an online personality for a little bit, and he was helping dogs and stuff like that. And he's like, thanks, Penny, for helping me realize what's important. And I'm like, bitch, like, you know, what if that's his livelihood? Like, you would screw someone over, you know? And it's not just that happy roses of like, oh, well, now I can focus on my true passion, helping orphans or something like that. People would just be like, no, like, now I don't have a source of income, and now I'm gonna get evicted from my house, and just because of this thing. And, like, I'm not saying he didn't deserve it or anything. I think he definitely needed to call out, but I think it's unrealistic for him just to, like, suddenly lose everything. And same with Penny. Like, she gains everything and then she loses everything, and I'm just like, it's very, like, boomer-ish, kind of like, this is how the kids do cancel culture, right? So
yeah, it definitely felt like some episodes really, really remind you that the showrunners are, like, in their, like, I think Ralph Farquaad is in, like, his 60s or 70s at this point.
Yeah.
But my issue with that scene is that it mixes its messages, right? Because you're spending half the episode saying that Penny was wrong for doing what she did, but Makeup Boy is an objectively happier person after what Penny did, and he thanks her for it. So what is it? Was
dumb.
she right to do what she did, or was she wrong to do what she did? Like, that. Pick a side. She can't be right and wrong at the same time. Like,
sorry, I keep on interrupting you. I'll stop.
No, it's all good. You know what it is? Open discussion. But I think the ideal way to do it would be like, okay, so Penny was right to do what she did to Makeup Boy, right? I think it would make more sense for her to lose sight of why she does what she does. Maybe at first she's about, like, you know, pointing out when people do things wrong, but then she kind of lets it get to her head, and then she starts doing it more frivolously. And instead of, like, oh, you shouldn't be using social media to call out people at all, rather it should be more about using your platform responsibly.
Yeah.
Rather than, oh, cancel culture bad.
I think, yeah, and I think it also would have worked if, like, you know, something like I described where Makeup Boy is, like, losing all his shit, and Penny has a realization about, like, oh, this is a real, tangible, like, business that I, you know, jeopardize, oh shit, kind of thing, and then she helps him, like, regain his image and, like, focus on, like, you know, you can do the stereotypical, like, you take him under your wing for, like, you know, 5-minute runtime and they do things, and she's like, that's not how you act around people, blah, blah, a little montage thing. And then, you know, he's able to recapture his social media presence in a more responsible way. I think that's a more realistic outcome than just him being happy he doesn't have a business anymore.
I mean, possibly, but I've definitely seen people that, like, used to be, like, YouTube famous or Twitter famous or whatever kind of social media famous, and they kind of take a step back from it and do something a little bit more down to earth, and they are overall happier. Like, I know, like, Alex James doesn't really post as much as he used to, but I think he's kind of, like, he's shown himself to be a lot happier. He's kind of like settled in, and he seems more content with his life, even though he's not, like, the big Vine sensation that he was back in the day. And I think that's kind of what they were trying to do with Makeup Boy, but, you know, it was done a little bit clumsily.
Yeah, I agree. And, like, the other thing, too, is just, like, I mean, this is a sidestep, but, like, all these kids were like, I want to be YouTube famous, and just, like, yo, it's work, you know, and, you know, it doesn't happen instantaneously, and, you know, there are days when I'm just like, you know, I don't want to do this, but, you know, I do it because it's a good outlet, and if I get one more goddamn comment that says, like, oh, I used to watch you when I was 10 and into My Little Pony, I'm so glad you're still making content, I'm just gonna, like, rip my eyes out. But
I don't know. I'm so glad I didn't start a YouTube channel until I was, like, almost 18. Like, I see, like, a lot of people, like I'm surprised when I find out that, like, certain YouTubers are, like, 16, 17 and have these big platforms, because it's like, I do not see myself being able to handle that big of an audience at that age. Like, I'm glad that my growth was slow. I'm glad that I didn't get, like, a mountain of followers at 17 years old, because, like, I wouldn't have known what to do with it. I wouldn't have known how to, like, handle myself and stuff like that. I didn't know about, like, managing a platform and, you know, being, like, a public figure, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's hard. But it's hard for anyone that, like, is in a niche for something, and then they're like, I want to do something different. Everyone's like, fuck you, I'm gonna go away now. And then anyway,
Girl, don't get me started.
let's go. I mean, let's move on. So number 3, I like number 3, the basketball episode. That was the best one, I think.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I have to look over the episodes. I have to look over, like, the entire episode list. But this is definitely, like, if it's not the best episode, it's at the very least the second best. I remember also liking the college episode as well. But yeah, this is a contender for the best episode of the season. It introduces one of my favorite recurring characters, Kareem, because I talk about this in my video on it. But I really appreciate the fact that despite the fact that he can play basketball, despite the fact that he's tall, and despite the fact that he's literally named after Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he's not into sports. He's into music, and classical music at that. Because, like, a lot of times when you see black male characters into music, it's always hip-hop. They always want to be a DJ, or they always want to be a rapper. But no, he's into classical music.
They're always wearing
like
sneakers or something like that, and they always have, like, those their hair with those sweatbands on or something like that. I know what you're talking about.
I love Kareem.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest, hopefully, push we'll get from this Proud Family thing, is having more characters like that where they're just that, and it's also a crux of, like, doing animation, because you have to get a lot of information out just visually from characters. So a lot of people will rely on stereotypes like that, and hopefully it will decrease as time goes on. But yeah, I think we need, like, I also need Penny's friends to not be, like, pieces of shit, like, half the, like, Why does she hang out with La Cienega? Like, I
don't know. Like
I don't know.
I'm so sick of this trope where, like, especially in shows where the main character is a girl. I'm so sick of, like, oh, if our main character is a girl, she has to have one friend in the friend group who's like a frenemy. I am so done. I am so tired of the concept of frenemies. Like, do people even have frenemies in real life? Like, there's a difference between a friend that you talk shit to and someone that you're either on good terms with or on bad terms with. Because as an adult, I like consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And La Cienega does not give me that. But speaking of La Cienega, right? She tries to make moves on Kareem in this episode.
Yeah.
And
which was also a dick move.
Yes, but I am so proud of Dejanay for stepping up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Dejanay is a lot more consistent in this show than she was in the original show.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, she is still kind of flaky at times, but I do like that she is the first person to speak up when La Cienega is moving in on Kareem. Because, like, you know, La Cienega, you know you were wrong. Like, I love when Dejanay steps up like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we see it again later in the Snackland episode when we get to that. But, you know, I gotta give credit where credit is due. I gotta give flowers where flowers are due. But I like that you were talking about how, like, you know, having callbacks and having, you know, acknowledging that past episodes have happened. I think that's probably why it resonates with you a lot, because, you know, they mention Penny being on the football team. They acknowledge the fact that Michael is like the best at basketball because they show it in the beginning of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
And it really shows Penny's, like, relationship with her father a little bit.
Yeah.
Even though he's kind of a jerk, but at the very least, it's like, you know, hey, you taught me how to play basketball. And, you know, like, Oscar isn't terrible at basketball. He just, you know, has had a lot of bad luck in his career. Like, a lot of college athletes, honestly.
Yeah, and I think, like, it's nice when the show can have an acknowledgement of Oscar being, like, good supportive dad instead of Oscar this thing that we use for our jokes because he's the funny one. And I agree, he's the funny one. He's, you know, I think, like, he's the best he's the most memorable character, I think, at the least. Like, if, you know, besides probably maybe Penny, but, like, as far as just his, like, I'm not sure his voice actor's name, but just those deliveries or can be hilarious.
Tommy Davidson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's, like, a recurring issue with the reboot in specific, because at the very least with the original show, right, there were still moments where he could be, like, a supportive father. For example, you know, he was a supportive father to her when she played football. Even to not even to Penny, but to Sticky. You know, like, again, in the Altos episode, he's still, like, the goofball, but he's still trying to be, like, a positive male role model for Sticky because he knows that Sticky's parents are going through a divorce, and he's kind of, like, without direction at the moment. So he kind of, you know, is there for is there for Sticky when he needs him. And another episode was 1 in a Million, where he made that 1 in a million shot for Penny.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, it shows that he's kind of obnoxious, but still
he means
caring,
well,
you know?
kind of.
Yeah.
So
he means well.
I am glad that he did get punishment in this episode, because Oscar will just do some shit, though, and just not really get any repercussions from it. And also, like, Trudy is the one, like, he doesn't make money on his stuff, right? Like, Trudy is the one who makes money because she's a vet, right?
Very little, if any. Like, Trudy's a veterinarian, so she makes money.
Yeah, so I'm just like, I don't know what Trudy sees in him, but he's at least he's funny. But, you know, I don't know. Let me think if there's anything else that we didn't mention about this episode. But yeah, and I'm glad Peepo's back. Peepo's always kind of cute, and
yeah, Peepo was nice. I was surprised that they brought him back. Like they brought back little bit characters from the old show, because, like, you know, sometimes when you have these reboots, sometimes, like, bit characters from the original show kind of get abandoned. Like Animaniacs is the first example I can think of, where, like, you know, there are a couple of recurring characters in Animaniacs that didn't make it to the reboot. But it's nice to see that some recurring characters from the Power family are here. Like, even the Gross sisters. I wish we saw more from them, because I think the Gross sisters are funny.
I think that would be a good episode of just like seeing. I mean, they did that episode where they switch and I think Dijon is with the Gross sisters or something like that. I don't remember who's, or is it La Cienega? I think it's one of them.
Yeah, like that cultural exchange episode.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they live with La Cienega's parents, and Poppy taught them how to speak Spanish.
Right. So I think if we got, more of that, or more just like, because, something Sketchy explained to me is the Gross sisters are the blue color because they can't afford lotion, because that is the black culture thing. That I'm like, as a white Jew, I'm just like, oh, that makes more sense than just why they're blue, because I'm just used to Draken, where they just never explain it and it's an artistic thing, and I'm like, okay, so maybe some, but both their parents are still there. It's not like their home was broken up, so it would be, again, good character development. Like, we need some of it somewhere, or maybe like, I think we need like a more decent La Cienega character development episode than like what we've gotten so far, or like why
even the original series had better La Cienega episodes.
This is dumb. Like, we never really get that. Like, why does she hang out with Penny except because she has to, and she's gonna drop her on a dime if there's someone that she feels like is better to hang out with, And like, I was watching some behind the scenes stuff, and her voice actor was just like, oh, they hate each other, but they really love each other, and I'm just like, bitch, where? Like, I don't. We just need like some acknowledgement of like, don't tell anyone, Penny, but I think you're a really good friend. And then, thanks, La Cienega. It's like, I told you not to tell anyone, though. Don't do it. We just need like one of those scenes, and it would be good. But I have so many notes.
Yeah, it's a lot with La Cienega, but yeah, I think that's it. The Gross sisters got a lot of good lines. Like the concert episode,
the gay father character in Oscar is like super fucking homophobic, and I'm just like, really?
Yeah, father figures. It does not surprise me. It does not surprise me that that Oscar is like that, because he does like have a lot of those like traditional masculine values, and like he's kind of a misogynist, this, that, and the third. It doesn't surprise me. And I mean, of all the characters to teach this lesson to, like, who else were you going to teach it to, honestly?
I just say, like, write a new character in or something like that. Or maybe, like, I'm just like, maybe Bobby, but Bobby's too likable that,
Yeah, like, especially, and he's in the music industry.
Yeah.
Like, Bobby's definitely, you have to be at least somewhat, well, depending on what genre of music you perform in. But
yeah.
In general, like, I think the drawback of having it be a new character, because it's like, if you bring in a new character just to teach a lesson about like homophobia or racism, then the lesson doesn't really stick, because that character never shows up again. Like, it's kind of the thing with like those very special episodes where you bring in a new character to talk about something heavy, but it doesn't really matter because that character is never seen again for the rest of the show. I think it is more impactful to have Oscar learn that lesson.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. It was just like, I was surprised because this is supposed to be like a reboot where people are getting exposed to new things. Is this Oscar's first interaction with this kind of stuff, I guess? Like, assumingly so, and I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. It's sometimes you have like biases within yourself that you never really address until like
you have to. Yeah.
Because he's actually asking for a loan from this person, and from I want to say Randall.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, and it's train of thought. So that was one of the things I was worried about.
Yeah,
that's one of the things I was worried about, is that like, okay, I hope that they don't like have him learn not to be homophobic because he has something to gain from like being friendly with this person. But thankfully, they have him learn his lesson in a way where it's like, he's seeing how unbothered everyone is, and how everyone is getting along, and it's like, man, why am I holding on to this one hang up and missing out on so much just because I don't want to let go of these biases that I have, like, you miss out on a lot of good potential friendships when you're bigoted, whether you're homophobic, transphobic, racist, misogynist, etc. You miss out on a lot of good potential friendships and a lot of fulfilling relationships that you could have if you were a little more open. And I think that's what the ultimate message was.
Mm-hmm.
But one recurring comment that I got was that like, oh, how come they had to use these parents to be gay? Like, Michael already exists. Why didn't they do anything with him? And I'm like, okay, tell me you didn't watch the original series without telling me you didn't watch the original series, because they already did it was like I get that it was the second to last episode before the movie, so maybe you didn't see it, but it was a thing. Like, Michael was being, like, obviously he wasn't made fun of for being gay because, you know, they couldn't say it.
They couldn't do it back in the day.
He was made fun of for being a sissy. And we all, by then, we've known Michael for so long that we know exactly what they're talking about, because Michael he's effeminate. He designs clothes. He's a fashion designer. He's a choreographer. He tried out for cheerleading in one of the first episodes. Like, you know, we know what they're talking about. And because of all the bullying, and he didn't like process it, and he kept like holding it in, he turned into a giant monster.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why they're not doing it with Michael again, because number one, they've done it already, and number two, everybody knows what happens when you pick on Michael. So I know nobody at Willie T. Ribbs Middle School wants that smoke with him.
Well, that's what I mean too. Like, you know, it being grounded in like, why is he turning? Like, I get it's a metaphor, and it's more excusable than just other instances where there's no sense of things. But I'm just like, also, why is this happening? So I don't know.
For the sake of that episode, it got the point across, because, like, you know, sometimes people do lash out and get violent when they are holding all that abuse in, and I think. Mm-hmm. I think I pointed out on one of the videos that, like, the Proud Family likes to use exaggeration to make a point.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, in the case of some episodes, it doesn't work, because if your exaggeration is off base, then it ruins your entire message. But with this one, I think it was very on point.
Right.
But yeah, I had mixed feelings about it, but overall, I didn't dislike it. But after that, Snackland, that episode, one of the funniest ones. Like, that's another contender for my favorite episode, because it was just so funny. Like, I was playing that scene between Penny and Trudy where they were talking about their voice changes.
Uh-huh.
That scene lives rent free in my head. The comedic timing on that episode in particular was on point.
I think, speaking of moments like that, I think the only thing I want in season 2 is like a full take of the CeeLo Green song. Just like, I need the full song. I just can't have this little snippet of the song. As you know what I'm talking about? It's the Panda song.
Yeah, from the first episode.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot CeeLo Green was in that episode.
Yeah. He's the panda.
Yeah, that was funny. But yeah, see, that episode was it also showed that BB and Cece can talk now, and I wish they did more of that, because they're funny.
That's fair.
I loaded the ink. No, you loaded your diaper. Then they just start scrapping.
Yeah, I think as far as that one, that was like, I wasn't expecting it to go that way. And did you like the inclusion of Lizzo and Tillamook and all that stuff?
I love me some Lizzo. I am a Lizzo stan, and it's crazy because, like, at that point, Proud Family was like giving us like back to back baddies. Like, episode 2, they showed us Wizard Kelly's wife. Episode 3 was Wizard Kelly's wife. Episode 4 was Sunset in that dress, and then episode 5 was Lizzo. And I'm like, look, y'all gotta calm down. I can't take that. I can't take too much of that back to back.
I only have one hand, guys. Hey.
I wasn't gonna say it, but yeah.
Yeah. There's me coming in with the "that's what she said" jokes. Like, that's how you know it's me, KP. But anyway, yeah. I mean, back on topic. Yeah, I thought it was fun. It was a good way to introduce Lizzo that wasn't just like superly forced and that kind of thing.
Yeah, because that's something that Lizzo uses her platform to speak about a lot. So it was a guest role that was made for her, because even though it's not the exact same thing, it's still like something like, it's something that it's a part of me, it's a part of my body, and I just embrace it, even though people tell me that I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And one thing I forgot to mention in the previous episode was that was when we start to see Maya kind of warming up to Penny and kind of not really liking La Cienega as much anymore, because we see it more in this episode where it's like, wait a minute, La Cienega, you didn't tell me that I was replacing Penny. You just told me that I was going to be a part of the group. And then, like, Dejanay, again, stands up for Penny. She's the first to apologize to her in the end. And even when she gets kicked out, right, Dejanay voted against it, but she got outvoted. So, like, again, like, Dejanay being, like, because she's supposed to be, supposedly she's Penny's closest friend, and she's actually finally starting to act like it more.
I mean, that's another thing, is just like, but Penny sings them in the Proud Family movie, and no one says anything about it then.
Yeah, I do like that the solution to this episode wasn't that Penny's voice needed to be altered or changed or anything. It's just like, listen, this is something that is going to be a part of growing up. Like, when I was a kid, right, when I was in 7th grade, I was a soprano. 8th grade, I was an alto. My voice dropped.
It be like that.
So, you just kind of, and they don't like portray it as like a whole, like, oh, just deal with it kind of thing. But like, no, like, look at it, like, try to make the best out of it. And, you kind of see it as a good thing in a sense.
Yeah, and that was the thing.
It doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Yeah, that was the thing. I wish, like, her friends were more supportive of her. Again, Penny has shitty friends, and it's about her being okay with it, but they kind of ostracize her at first, and they replace her with Maya and stuff like that. I'm just like, when will you guys be nice? So,
And it's kind of like La Cienega is kind of the driving force about it.
Yeah.
Of it, like, it's kind of like a overall thing of how women's friendships are portrayed in media, and it's kind of a microcosm of that, because, like, you always see all those jokes about, like, oh, women aren't actually friends with each other, they just tolerate each other or whatever the hell.
They need some young people in that writer's room. Maybe there are, I don't know, but there needs to.
You can definitely tell which episodes are written by younger people. Like the college episode, when we get to that, that was definitely written by someone who's been in college within the last 5 to 10 years.
Right.
But yeah, Snackland, another top tier episode. After that is Get In, which I think is another good episode.
Yeah, I was kind of confused why they were like, I wish the thing that they developed as far as like their idea was something that wasn't already, I mean, Uber and stuff like that. I wish they developed like a more unique product than something that most people are already familiar with. So, well,
I guess like it was unique in the sense that, like, they're under 16, under 18. So like they can't like drive, and the app is primarily, for like pickup. Yeah. And I was thinking like of the logistics of that, like, is that actually like something you can do? Because I can imagine like, an adult picking up another adult is one thing, but having a stranger pick up your kids to take them home from school. But apparently there are ride sharing apps for that, and allegedly they have a much more rigorous screening.
I mean, yeah, I bet,
than Uber.
You can't,
I would hope.
But I think that was my biggest complaint. It was just like I like that Pio was back. He was cute. I like how he just hits on he just goes through cycles of the girls he likes from the group, which I think is always funny.
He's just like me for real.
Did you like the reality show, the Crab Barrel show?
Yeah, I particularly liked it, number one, because Marseille Martin plays like the little prodigy executive in that one. But also because when I first started college, I was into Shark Tank like heavy. I just gotten Hulu, and I was like watching Shark Tank religiously. I kind of fell off after about like 2 years, but yeah, I was heavy into Shark Tank at one point. So seeing that like parody of it kind of took me back to those days. So I really like that segment.
Yeah.
Like, do you know Oscar Proud? Lie, baby, lie.
Yeah, I think that was the peak of the comedy for that one. My like I said, my biggest takeaway was I wish it was something more unique as far as what they came up with. Like, you're a cartoon, think of cartoon logic stuff, you know. Come on, guys.
I also like that the title, because it's a reference to Get Out, the movie.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I was thinking like, is it a reference to Get Out? I'm not sure, but I mean, what else could it be?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That's true.
And it's a clever thing. It's not like parodying Get Out. It's just something that it's a reference to Get Out, but it makes sense within the context of the episode.
I feel. The next one is the Roker College episode, which, you know, I liked the college imagery, and it's always fun to put the characters in different situations where the character designer gets to do something new, and everyone's just like, yay, we can use that for our vectors. That's a lot of My Little Pony stuff, but, you know.
As someone that's been in college from 2014 to 2017, this is very accurate. You know, like you want to be a good student, you want to study, but like the allure of, you know, just doing the freedom to do whatever you want, because like it's kind of a culture shock when you first start college, because it's like the teachers don't really care if you're late to class.
Mm-hmm.
The teachers don't really get on your case for missing classes. Like you're very much responsible for your own journey. You know, like you have a lot more accountability when it comes to your academics,
mm-hmm.
so to speak. And I can see how, you know, that kind of freedom can be seductive, especially for someone that's in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's out of character for Penny to want to stay, because, you know, she's thinking very short term. And for once, her friends are being more sensible than she is. But again, I understand why. Mm-hmm. And what I also think is funny is they got new voice actors to play all the college versions of the gang.
Mm-hmm.
But their voice actors for their adult versions, most if not all of them are younger than the people who voice their child counterparts. Like adult Myron is voiced by Jaden Smith, but like his regular voice is voiced by the little brother from Moesha, who's like, I think is like in his 30s or 40s at this point.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I mean, at least they all sound the same, right? You know, it's
it sounds like a natural progression of their voice.
Mm-hmm. But you know, I as far as that episode, again, besides me just being confused of Roker as a concept, and like I like his lampshade joke where he's just like, how long have you been in middle school? 20 years. I'm just like, yeah, me too. How long have they been in middle school?
Did you catch the Bebe's Kids reference?
It was in like a screenshot, right? Like, oh, it was the DVD,
like she took
right?
out like she like, what's a DVD or whatever the hell, and it's like because like Bebe's Kids was a film that the creator of the Proud Family worked on.
Yeah, that's...
And you can see a lot of his design philosophy and the character designs and stuff.
Yeah, that was about, like, a guy who wanted to get with a girl, but she had kids and he babysits the kids, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I've seen snippets of it. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I haven't seen the whole thing. I think it's like her best friend's kids or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice cozy episode. Oscar gets to be a good dad.
I love Oscar's like impression voice. Like,
yeah, I'm the Big O.
The Big O voice was so funny when when I was watching the original and he did it for his disguise. I was just like, I had to play it a couple times just because of how funny it is. And something too I didn't realize until I rewatched it. For this one they didn't do it, but for the last episode where he used the voice, they redesigned his chin a little bit so he looks more like Bobby. And then when he takes his the costume off, then he's regular Oscar. And I'm just like, I thought he looked a little different, but I used my smart brain to figure out that they changed his design a little bit. But I think Big O voice is hilarious.
Yeah, I'm glad that Oscar finally got to come through for Penny, and like this is when I felt that Louder and Prouder kind of hit its stride. Like it was kind of an uneven start, but then once you get to episode 5, like episodes 5, 6, and 7 are all good episodes, and then we get to episode 8.
Oh yeah, that was speaking. I mean, that one.
Yeah, because here's the thing, right?
That was not my favorite.
Yeah, and like in the cartoon community, you hear the term mean-spirited a lot. You hear it a lot, and a lot of times it's used like incorrectly because it's like, oh, mean-spirited isn't just a character being mean, especially if that character is known for being mean. Mean-spirited is about like the subtext of the episode. Like for like in the example for this episode, right? You're trying to do an episode about like, you know, Penny helping a homeless teacher, but you're portraying that homeless character in the most unsympathetic way possible and taking every opportunity you can to make a joke at her expense, despite the fact that you're trying to like make a heartfelt episode about helping a teacher.
I know, and
that is mean-spirited. That is what mean-spirited means.
Like the thing I also couldn't like writing the character is actually totally unsympathetic and unlike, you know, they take her into the house and she's bitching at them, and I'm just like, in what real world situation would they just be like, hey, you're making our lives horrible, please get out? You know, it doesn't. I was just like, come on, guys, like that's not. I get that you're trying to write her as unlikable, but it's not. The logic isn't there. Like, so who approved this script right? So
if that's the route they wanted to take, they should have made it so that like her house was being fumigated or something. Like she was being temporarily displaced rather than being homeless, because being homeless puts it in a whole other context, and like there's a lot more like stakes, you know?
Yeah.
And it's a much more serious situation. Like you can't do like an unbearable roommate story and do a story about like, oh, you know, helping the homeless teacher. You can't have it both ways. Like it reaches a head when Penny does like the GoFundMe, and it does so badly that it's at negative $100, and it's like,
that was dumb.
y'all are being a little too extra. And the ending didn't really sit well with me, because it's like, oh, so now everybody wants to donate to their homeless teacher because a white girl dances to a black song. Like, I mean, I guess it's realistic to how, you know, to, you know, white TikTok dancers appropriating black dances, but you could make a commentary about that if you wanted the episode to be about that, but it wasn't, so it just comes off wrong.
Yeah, and then, you know, like, I didn't really buy Zoe's bonding with Bobby as far as him getting her to that point. I think they just wanted to have something to put in the episode, and then they did the fucking meme, and I was just like, okay, I'm done with this episode. I get that you guys are trying to be funny. The oh snap meme kind of.
Oh, is it like that that roasting meme?
Yeah.
Where, like, someone roasts somebody and that. Oh, okay, yeah. That was definitely a thing. Like, y'all are a couple. I think that's like a decade old at this point. No,
like,
or at
I mean,
least half a decade.
It was just also like, we're gonna be funny and put a meme in there, and I'm just like, but you didn't get to earn the meme. You know, you just wanted something.
Are old people just finding this out? Are old people just discovering this GIF?
It's so
super hot
messy.
fire, yeah.
It's so messy, sketchy. I'm trying hard, but this show's so messy. Anyway, so that episode wasn't that good.
This episode was not it, Chief. It was not it, Chief. Not at all.
I liked the quinceanera episode. I thought that was cute. I think it also, Proud Family also does better when it kind of gets a more modern, like, holy shit, like, they didn't go there to take, the comment about Los Annika's cousin needing to be skinnier than Los Annika, and I'm just like, damn, that's That's what I need. That's what I'm talking about as far as just like that's how you ground your characters and make them realistic is just like that sounds like something that would happen for sure in real life kind of thing, you know. We have Karen
it definitely
moms.
tried. They definitely tried to like do like a episode about like generational trauma, which they also do in the finale. But I am not much of a fan of this episode. Like this episode is in contest with episode 8 for my least favorite episode.
Oh, okay. I'm surprised.
You know, one thing I did like, right? I do like that they actually like address the whole like La Brea becoming skinny thing, because at first it was like, oh, like they treat it as like a glow up but like she didn't even look that bad. She was just chubby. That's it. But then they were like, oh no, my mom like forced me to like wear waist trainers and go on diets and stuff to look skinnier than you. And I'm like, oh, okay. There was actually like a point to that, and I really appreciated that. But the problem is that like La Brea's mom isn't the only source of trauma for La Brea. Like La Cienega bullied her because like you're trying to have this whole flashback where you're like, oh, you're trying to explain why La Brea has been pranking La Cienega all these years, which was like a last minute twist that wasn't needed, right? But you show that even back then La Cienega was bullying La Brea. So it's like, what was the point of this? What was the point of the flashback then? Because it's really trying, like especially because another like frame of reference I had for this episode was did you ever watch All Grown Up?
Yeah, a little bit. Not I remember bits of it, but yeah, go ahead.
There was an episode called Lucky 13. It was about Angelica's 13th birthday, and it's a very similar kind of premise where it's like, oh, okay. Angelica wants to have her 13th birthday party, but nothing's going right, yada, yada, yada. But what they did was that they introduced a character that was actually meaner than her. And in this episode, Angelica did not do anything to deserve being treated the way she did. Like, this other girl, Savannah, she intentionally planned a party for the same day as Angelica's because she knew that everybody would want to go to her party instead of Angelica's. And she did it for no reason. Angelica didn't do anything to her. She just did it just to be a bitch. And, you know, that immediately, despite all the things that Angelica has done, because she did nothing to deserve this treatment, it makes her more sympathetic. And on top of that, like, even when La Cienega's friends are trying to help her, she's, like, totally, like, cruel towards them. But with Angelica, Susie and her friend Harold were there for Angelica from day one, but she never mistreated them. And when Tommy steps in to help the situation, once she finds out what Tommy did for her, the first thing she does is call him over to thank him in person for what he did. You know, like, Angelica, she didn't do anything to deserve how she was treated. And when things work out for her, she thanks the people that helped her get there. And they don't do that for La Cienega. They just portray her in the same crappy light they always have. And they have the gall to, like, try and pretend like they learned something at the end. But it's like, they even lampshade it where it's like, yeah, La Brea, that's kind of crazy. That's weird. Why are you doing this? This is very single white female of you.
Yeah, the more I think about it too, the more I'm just like, yeah, you're right. You know, if we had like a more sympathetic moment of, you know, La Cienega being vulnerable and growing from her, it's like you said, the showrunners are older, and I think there's just been nuances in how culture and media is being approached that I don't know if they're afraid to put these things in because then they'll limit themselves as far as future episodes or stuff like that. But it's hard to take these kind of lessons and morals in if you feel like the characters, like, you know, kind of deserve it, or, you know, why are we standing up for, like, why is La Cienega even anyone's friend? And I mean, I like Felix, so at least Felix was in this one. He's funny. You know.
Yeah, Felix and Sunset, I like them as a couple when Felix is not doing the typical I don't want to spend time with my wife thing, even though Sunset is so, why would you not want to spend time with her? Like, come on. That is the most unrealistic thing in Proud Family. The fact that Oscar and Felix have such, like, not even that they're pretty, but just they're just like very, like, they have good values. They're very nice. Like, you know, despite the fact that Sunset's a cop, she has good values. She's there for her family, this, that, and the third. Why do you not want to spend time with your wife?
Yeah,
But
they I mean, again, not to interrupt, but like they do these episodes where they try to pick on younger girls, and I'm just like, Oscar, you married a doctor, and you don't have to like pay for anything because she pays for. Why are you gonna mess that up by being an idiot?
Exactly, but like I think a better execution of the episode would be like, instead of having this big reveal that La Brea was like pranking La Cienega all this time, I think it should have been that like, okay, she's already dealing with so much from her mom, and then La Cienega acting the way she does just adds additional stress and trauma to La Brea.
Mm-hmm.
And then this whole quinceañera situation is just a breaking point for her.
Right.
Like she's like, you been bullying me all these years, like, I have to deal with all this stuff from my mom, and then when I come to visit you and Tia Sunset, I think I'm gonna have a break from it, but then you just treat me badly too, and it's like I can't have an escape from all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And make it more about the fact that La Brea is just not being treated well, and she's having all this like generational trauma dumped on her that she doesn't deserve to deal with, and La Cienega is unknowingly adding on to that. And if they wanted to stick with it, it could have been a turning point in La Cienega's character, but I'm not confident that it'll stick. And it's another thing that I have with the part one of the finale. Well, the finale, which is part one of a two-parter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was surprised, we were talking about it near the end, because for those listening, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do a video about the Proud Family, but then I was just like, I think my just general, like, notes are, it's kind of messy, whatever, like, it wasn't enough to really make a video about, so that's why we decided to do podcast format, but we weren't sure if they were going to air part 2 or they were going to wait for season 2, because they just got renewed, the show just got renewed, like, right, like, that week or the week before. So I guess
I think what happened, if I'm not mistaken, is that they ordered more than 10 episodes, and the announcement was just like announcing that season 2 production has started.
Okay.
Maybe, but at a certain point during the show's run, they had announced the synopses for the remaining episodes in the season, and I'm seeing the synopsis like, oh, okay, so they're gonna go see Sugar Mama's side of the family, and it's like, oh, it's called Old Town Road, and but then I go to Disney Plus and I look at the episode and it says Old Town Road Part 1, and I was like, Part 1? Wait a minute, I wasn't aware this was gonna be a two-parter, and like I think the only like cartoon I can think of where they do a part 1 as the finale and part 2 as the premiere is like Shaolin Showdown.
Mm-hmm.
Like Shaolin Showdown did that for like season 2 and 3. But it was an interesting episode. I think this is another one of those generational trauma type beats. I did like it for sure. I think the best thing about this episode, Trina, why did I say Trina? Trudy says, oh God, I'm sorry. People get black women's names wrong enough as it is. But Trudy says more. You know what? I think the reason why I got her name wrong is because she didn't do anything for the entire show.
You're supposed to be the role model, Sketchy.
Trudy says more in the first 10 minutes of this episode than she does in the entire season. Like, that's kind of a thing that I didn't like about Oscar, is that he was taking like the lion's share of the screen time compared to other family members.
Mm-hmm.
Like Trudy, I remember Trudy being more active in stories in the original show, but she barely does anything in this.
Mm-hmm.
I like that she's like being like proactive and like finding out Sugar Mama's side of the family.
Yeah, that was
you
another
know.
thing too. Like another like continuity thing where Trudy's like, I spent $1,000 trying to figure out your real name and your real family, and I'm just like, I get that Sugar Mama didn't want to talk about it, but you didn't ask Sugar Mama before doing that. You just did it. You just spent $1,000. It's dumb. It's dumb. So, but anyway, continue.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why, because like, you know, a lot of people assume that you want to know more about your family because this is something that Sugar Mama never discussed.
Yeah.
Like, even, you know, Sugar Mama never like wanted to talk about her family, but you know, Trudy understands that, like, you know, for a lot of black folks don't have the luxury of knowing where they come from or knowing their like family history. So that's why she was so insistent, even though they're not her blood relatives. So that kind of makes sense. And then you see Sugar Mama's old family, like, wow, those facial genes are strong. They are strong. I was like, I remember there was like one of the little nephews or the little nieces has a face that looks like Sugar Mama. Like, man, those facial genes are strong as hell, dog. This is also the best animated episode.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, also because the sunset shots gave some good use for shading and that kind of thing. But also, like, I'm surprised Great Daddy Proud is still alive, you know? It's nice.
Yeah, Papa Town, yeah.
Papa Town. You know, not Trudy's, Sugar Mama's father is still alive when Penny's like 14 to 15 or something like that. I'm just like...
especially since she has a younger sibling who was born after she ran away, but he's still old.
I wonder how that happened, you know?
So I'm assuming that, like... I'm assuming that, like, she's at least 15 years older than him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, wow, they just... Ooh, something's in the water. Something's in the water in that place. But yeah, like, just the way the characters move, like Trudy, like being tired and everything, and like moving her head around and stuff. Like the animation moved a lot more fluidly.
Mm-hmm.
Another scene that stuck out was that scene at the lake where the little like mutated fish monster chased her,
right,
or whatever. And I'm sure the viewers can tell that we're kind of struggling to come up with things to say about this episode, and that's because it's an incomplete narrative.
Right.
It's setting up things that they plan on following up on in part 2, but you know, part 2 ain't here yet.
Yep.
And
we just
I
have
can't
to guess.
really judge. Yeah, exactly. And I can't really judge how good the themes are gonna land because we haven't seen the landing yet.
Mm-hmm.
All I can really say is that I hope it lands well. And I hope that whatever they learn here sticks, because the Proud family doesn't really give me reason to think that it will. Except, like, Maya definitely, like, had some good character development and her character development stuck.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that's going to be the same for Sugar Mama and Oscar. I hope it is. I very much hope it is. But I think the final note on this episode in particular was I liked Uncle Bobby's verse in Old Town Road.
I'm glad because
they call me Uncle Bobby. I love it.
And I'm glad too they got Cedric the Entertainer back, because he was
Cedric the Entertainer.
Yeah, because I think in the regular Proud Family movie he had to be recast or something like that. So I'm glad they got all the.
Oh, he was recast in the movie?
Yeah, I think so.
That. Hold up. That's crazy. It's been so long since I've seen the Proud Family movie, so if I watch
it's not something you would notice. Like, I'm pretty good about picking up when different voices, and I know like all the major VAs, the industry VAs like ranges, so it's not something I noticed though, unless I like Googled it. So.
Oh wow, they did. Arsenio Hall,
yes,
who also played Dr. Carver. That's crazy. That's nice. Well, yeah, I am glad that they got Cedric the Entertainer back. But speaking of voices, I guess they spent so much money on Lizzo and for permission to use Old Town Road that they could only afford to give Lil Nas X like 2 lines. But one thing I did forget to mention about episode 8 is that one of the things that made it so disappointing for me was that Tiffany Haddish was in this episode, and she's like my favorite actress right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, why is my favorite actress in the worst episode? But yeah, that kind of brings us to the end of the first season of Louder and Prouder. I guess if I had to give it like a grade, B minus, because like the lows are pretty low, but the highs are pretty high. So it's like it's good enough to be a B, but like a B minus. Like C plus if I'm feeling cynical.
Yeah, I would say like just C, ish in general, because like it's nice when you have those character episodes, but it just the messiness of like like it doesn't seem like they have like a real goal as far as the general revival, except just again make it like coming back where they were. And I would wish like they would have at least kind of like it's implied that they want to have Penny and Oscar have a better relationship or something like that, or grow on that. But beyond that, it just like what like pitch me this, like why am I watching it? And it's like it's the Proud Family, everyone loves the Proud Family. And I'm like, yes, but what's different, like, or what's your take, what's your artistic purpose for doing this? And like money. And I'm just like, no, like, you know what I mean, as far as that kind of. But again, it's also my personal preference. But
Yeah, I think it's for me is that like I don't mind a slice of life show that's like more stagnant and stuff like that, because again, sitcoms,
Mm-hmm.
like for like like with everybody hates Chris is a good example. Like yeah, Chris, because it's a live action show, Chris gets older and he goes to high school eventually, and it ends where Chris's high school career ends, because like Chris Rock dropped out in real life, and
Mm-hmm.
it ends with him dropping out. But you could watch the series in any order, and it's just like it's the typical like, oh, like bad things happen to Chris, but it's done in a way where like it's new every time.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like that. It's like it's comfortable.
Right.
I think Golden Girls is the same way, where like they never grow out of making fun of each girl for their quirks, like Rose being dumb, Dorothy's love life, Blanche's promiscuity, da 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 da.
Yeah, I guess it just I'm all for that kind of stuff, but I think there just needs to be some more underlining glue as far as like making La Cienega likable, maybe like maybe some more background as far as like why Penny hangs out with like their friend group in general, those kind of things, as far as just like people when the bad episodes just kind of going under the radar, and people think it's like, oh yeah, it's fine if we have a teacher who is a real bitch and we're trying to have her be or show her in a sentimental light. I'm just like, why didn't anyone catch this before it like. So I'm hoping they'll do better. I don't know. I think the creative team is just happy they're revived and just like, wow, we're just gonna keep on going. But beyond that, I don't know. We'll see. I guess we'll see how things go with it. I don't know, but I'm cynical.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm optimistic.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic. I'm an optimist by nature.
Yeah.
And I hope that season 2 is a little bit more consistent. Consistency is the name of the game here.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the it's the biggest issue with the show. It's the biggest issue with Penny's friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's a kind of a recurring theme where like the biggest issue the Proud Family has is consistency. But here's hoping that it has a more consistent second season, and we have a good payoff with this Old Town Road 2-parter.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll pay to give Little Mouse X more than 2 lines, if he's even in part 2 at all.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right as far as that. I think it just needs just some nuance as far as the character takes and stuff like that. Like when they revived DuckTales, they tried to give like each twin consistent characters and voices so people could tell the difference. It needs kind of a take like that, where it's just like, hey, this is good, but let's just re-examine this to see if it still works now. And I think there's too many boomers on the writing team that sometimes those things kind of go under the radar. So
not even just boomers, but like Gen Xers too.
That's
Gen
fair.
Xers are getting up there in age as well.
Everyone's getting old, including us. All right. I guess I'll do my outro thingies. So where can people find you, Sketchy, if they want to watch things?
Yeah, you can find all of my Proud Family reviews at on my YouTube channel, Sketchy the Changeling. I don't know if I'm gonna do like a best to worst ranking. That's something that I have been considering, but not decided yet.
Mm-hmm.
You'll also find other reviews. I did a review of the new My Little Pony movie. I do want to cover the new series Samurai Rabbit at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then on Twitter, twitter.com/SketchyBug. And I am also on TikTok, SketchyBug. Follow me, y'all.
Follow me.
Show the bug some love. Join the swarm.
Is that what you call it?
That's what I call my fan base. Yes, the swarm.
That's cute. And yeah, I don't know when we're gonna do another podcast, but we'll just do them as needed. So I think we're just sticking to like once every other week or whatever. But yeah, podcast is on all the podcast things, and the main channel is there too. If you haven't seen any content for like 10,000 years, and if I don't really have anything else. So like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for listening. Blah.
Whoop, whoop.
Okay, bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Animation Communication on YouTube, Spotify, or your favorite podcast provider. We are really hoping this show makes a difference in how people view animation and media, as well as giving and providing advice for people all over the world who like or want to join the animation or media industry. If you liked what you heard, please remember to subscribe and rate those 5 stars, as well as tell your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our main YouTube channel, I Love Kim Possible a Lot, and turn those notifications on. My name is Scribbler, and you have been listening to Animation Communication.